Most people think they know what NMIXX sounds like. No, they don't. On the 22nd of February 2022, NMIXX debuted with OO, and the internet had something to say about it. The song jumped between two completely different sounds. One half hit hard and fast, the other half went bright and sweet. There was no clean bridge between them. Just a sharp cut, and suddenly you were in a different song. The internet was not nice about it. People called it confusing, overwhelming. On Melon, Korea's biggest streaming platform, it entered at number 220. It could not even crack the top 100. The word that stuck to NMIXX from that point forward was loud. Loud debut, loud concept, loud music. Their second single, Dice, followed the same idea. Two sounds stitched together, the signature mixed pop approach. Reviews stayed mixed. Conversations kept circling back to the same thing. Too much going on. For most people, that was the full picture of NMIXX. Loud music, strong voices, and nothing else worth digging into. But behind the title tracks, behind the debates and the labels, NMIXX had been releasing songs that sounded nothing like what people expected. Quieter songs, slower songs, songs that feel like slipping into a dream you don't want to wake up from. Almost nobody was paying attention to those. Start with Run for Roses. Released in January 2024 as part of their FE304 break album, the song had been performed live months earlier at a fan concert. Fans who heard it there kept talking about it. When the studio version finally dropped, it confirmed what those early listeners already knew. Run for Roses starts building before the first word even comes in. The music hits first. The vocals come in wide and warm, and the melody moves upward like it is trying to reach something just out of sight. There is a line in the chorus about not being alone, and the way all 6 voices push into it together makes it feel bigger than a pop song should feel. Young K from Day 6 wrote the lyrics. The emotion in the words matches how big the song feels. It is the kind of track that makes you want to run somewhere, even if you have nowhere to go. Most people who know NMIXX have never heard it. Love is Lonely lived in a similar space. A B-side from the FE304 Stickout album, released August 2024. The song pulls you in with a soft guitar and then layers something electronic on top of it. It creates a feeling of floating, like the ground just moved an inch below your feet. At concerts, NMIXX performed it with deep blues and slow-moving galaxies filling the screens behind them. In the middle of a set list full of energy, the song brought the entire room down to a calm. Then there is High Horse. Released in March 2025 as a pre-release single from FE304 forward, the song starts with a piano line, just keys, gentle and low. The kind of opening that makes you lean in because it sounds like someone is about to tell you something important. Then a beat slides in and the vocals begin to float on top of it. The whole thing moves at a pace that feels unhurried, like it has all the time in the world. Somewhere toward the end, a faint horn appears in the background, and you feel it in your spine before you even notice it is there. The producer behind the track, Collapstone, revealed later that the song had been in the works since 2018. Other artists had the song before them, but it finally landed with NMIXX. The choreography that came with it leaned into something slower and more expressive. Less sharp formations, more flowing movement. Nothing about it moved the way people expect K-pop choreography to move. Billboard ranked it the 62nd best song of 2025. NME placed it 7th among the best K-pop songs of that year. For a pre-release track from a group still fighting for wider recognition, those numbers said a lot. High Horse sounded like it belonged in a different room. And that was the point. Papillon arrived on the same album as High Horse. Lighter and quicker. The kind of song that feels like it is made out of air. Light enough to feel easy, but sharp enough to stay with you. The kind of song that shows up in your head at 2 a.m. and you can't figure out where you heard it.
'Cause I'm drowning in the ocean of your heart.
Ocean, also from FE304 forward, carried the warmth of standing near water on a day when nothing urgent is happening. Sullyoon later said the sea had always been a place of comfort for her, and you can hear that in the song. These songs never charted the way the title tracks did. Most of them never had a music video. They lived in albums, in B-side lists, in the parts of the discography that casual listeners skip past. But for anyone who actually sat with them, they told a completely different story about what NMIXX could do. The title tracks showed what NMIXX sounded like at full volume, but these songs showed what they sounded like when they were just being themselves. Before every NMIXX comeback, something unusual happens. The group releases an acapella highlight medley. 6 members, no instruments, no backing tracks, just voices layered on top of each other, previewing every song on the upcoming album through vocal arrangements alone. What started as a fresh approach to album teasers became a tradition. Every single album since has done it. Same format every time. 6 voices, building harmonies that turn an album preview into its own performance. No other K-pop group does this consistently. Most groups release highlight medleys with the instrumental tracks already there. NMIXX strips everything away and lets the voices carry it. That decision reveals something about how this group approaches music. The voices come first. Everything else builds around them. In September 2024, NMIXX recorded a session for Tiny Desk Korea, the live music series that puts artists in a small room with a band and no room to hide. No post-production, no in-ear monitors, no backing track support. Just the 6 members, a live band with a few instruments, and whatever their voices could do in that room. They performed 5 songs in a single take, 26 minutes. Every song they performed sounded different from the studio version. They rearranged parts on the spot, added vocal runs that felt unplanned, changed how lines were divided between members. Haewon opened the session by saying it was their first time singing without in-ear monitors and that they could feel the vibe of the room. That session became one of the most talked about live performances NMIXX has ever done. 4 months later, in January 2025, NPR Music uploaded the performance to its main YouTube channel. NMIXX became the first K-pop girl group to have their Tiny Desk Korea session featured there. The comments section told the rest. People who said they had never listened to K-pop wrote that the performance changed how they saw the genre. That same approach showed up on LeeMujin Service, a Korean talk show built around live solo vocal performances. One by one, each NMIXX member appeared as a guest. Every single member, all 6. They became the first and only group to have every member featured on the show individually and as a full group. It revealed something that studio recordings and title tracks sometimes hide. In most K-pop groups, there is a clear gap between the strongest vocalists and the rest of the lineup. With NMIXX, the gap barely exists. The members who carry the main vocal roles, Lily and Haewon, sit at an extremely high level. Jiwoo is officially the main rapper. She showed up and sang. Kyujin is the main dancer. She showed up and sang. Bae carries vocal and rap parts. Sullyoon is best known as the visual. Both of them showed up and sang. The usual line between who sings and who does everything else does not apply here. Every member can handle any role in the group, and LeeMujin proved it one episode at a time.
와 진짜 기대된다 다음 노래.
Merry Christmas!
And at their concerts, NMIXX took it even further. Songs performed on tour sounded different from the recorded versions. Love Me Like This got a full rock rearrangement at one concert, with mic stands replacing choreography to put the vocals front and center. Live ad-libs changed from night to night. Lily changed her vocal runs and dash depending on how the crowd was feeling. Haewon roughened up the chorus. Jiwoo switched between singing and rapping in ways the studio version never did. Each stage became a new version of the song. For fans who attended multiple shows, no two performances were the same. Most K-pop concerts are about recreating the studio experience on stage. NMIXX concerts are about proving the studio version is just the starting point. On the 13th of October 2025, NMIXX released their first full-length album. It was called Blue Valentine. By this point, the group had spent over 3 years building multiple albums, multiple pre-release singles, a showcase tour and fan concerts across several countries, the Tiny Desk session, the slow accumulation of listeners who had started paying closer attention. All of it led here. The title track, Blue Valentine, arrived with a feeling that sat somewhere between sadness and warmth. The kind of song that sounds like looking at old photos with someone you care about. A guitar line moves through the center of it, and the vocals carry a weight they had never shown in a title track before. Softer, more open. Like the song was asking you to come closer instead of forcing your attention. The album carried 12 tracks, and the deeper cuts prove the point. Songs like Reality Hurts and Crush on You moved in completely different directions from each other, but both sounded like NMIXX. Spinnin' on It hit harder than most title tracks, with a bass line that stayed in your head for days, and quickly became a fan favorite. Haewon co-wrote lyrics for 2 of the tracks. The personal touch showed. And the proof sat at the very end of the track list. The last 2 tracks on Blue Valentine took Oh Oh, the debut song that started all the noise, and split it into 2 separate songs. The hard, fast half became Oh Oh Part 1 Baila. The bright, sweet half became Oh Oh Part 2 Superhero. Pulled apart, both halves sounded like complete songs on their own. The music was never the problem. It just took 3 years for everyone to hear it that way. What Blue Valentine proved was something fans had been saying for a while. The songs people had been calling the artistic side of NMIXX were never a side project. They were the center. The title tracks were the ones that adjusted. The deeper cuts were always where NMIXX was heading. Then came Crescendo, released on the 28th of April 2026 as a pre-release for their 5th EP Heavy Serenade. The song arrived with a music video set in a world where everything is silent and NMIXX fills it with sound. The title itself is a word that means gradually getting louder, and the song moves exactly like that. It starts with space, room to breathe. The vocals enter gently, then layer on top of each other, building until the final chorus opens up completely. Lily co-wrote the lyrics. Reactions online kept landing on the same word, art. Across forums, listeners kept saying the same thing, that this was not just a good song. It felt like something made to be felt, not just heard. Heavy Serenade followed on May 11. 6 tracks, more contributions from the members, and a title that puts two contradicting ideas together: heavy and serenade, strength and softness in the same breath. If that does not describe what NMIXX has been building this whole time, nothing does. NMIXX released some of the most interesting music in K-pop over the past 4 years, and most of it lived in places where casual listeners never looked. Behind the loud title tracks and the debates, 6 voices were making songs that rewarded anyone who stayed past the first impression. If you only know NMIXX from the loudest moments, go back. Find the songs that sit in the quiet parts of the albums. Put your headphones on. Close your eyes. That is where NMIXX actually lives,